The Classic Mode in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate takes the original Classic Mode formula and makes it feel new, giving a lot of attention to detail to the unique routes each of the fighters have. Let's explore each of these routes while trying to dig deep into the details the developers put into them and explaining some of the choices they made, starting with the N64 Original 12.
Mario!
The title of Mario's Classic Mode route is called Let's-A-Go, a reference to Mario's catchphrase. His Classic Mode consists of him fighting most of the major Nintendo franchise mascots. This includes Link and Zelda, DK and Diddy, a whole bunch of Pokemon, and blue-haired sword guys. How they didn't put Ice Climbers on the list is beyond me. The penultimate battle, however, shifts to Bowser Jr. and all the other Koopalings, obviously referencing Mario's many face-offs with these characters throughout the years. Interestingly, the character icons on the top left corner of the screen match the order the Koopalings appear in Super Mario Bros. 3. If you read it right to left, that is. And of course, the final battles with Bowser, Mario's ultimate rival, who transforms into Giga Bowser when defeated, acting as Mario's final boss instead of Master Hand or Crazy Hand.
Donkey Kong!
Even though Donkey Kong didn't appear in Super Mario Odyssey outside of a 2D sprite, his Classic Mode route shows his journey from the Congo Jungle to New Donk City. Starting with fighting Diddy on the Congo Jungle stage, who joins you for the rest of the Classic Mode, DK then faces King K. Rool on the Congo Falls stage. For some reason after that, you fight Wario and Captain Falcon on the Pilot Wing stage, signifying DK's vacation away from the jungle. As you get closer to New Donk City, DK enters Onett and kills some kids, goes to Moray Towers, murders some more kids, and finally reaches New Donk City, where he utterly obliterates plumbers who are just trying to do their job. Like, come on, DK, just relax, man. His final boss is just Master Hand, but it's on the Final Destination version of New Donk City, showing Sakurai's excellent attention to details.
Link!
Our boy Link is going on an important quest to seal the darkness, as told by his Classic Mode title, A Quest to Seal the Darkness. All his enemies are dark versions of their original counterparts, and Bayonetta, cause she's already dark. You face Dark Pit, Dark Samus, a Giant Ridley, and of course Ganondorf and Dark Link, classic Link enemies. You face Ganondorf for some reason before Dark Link, which feels like the order's misplaced to me. Unless this Ganondorf is supposed to be the Phantom Ganon or something, which does appear before Dark Link in Ocarina of Time. But this is Breath of the Wild Link, so none of this makes sense in the first place. Of course, the final boss is Ganon, not to be confused with Ganondorf. We're talking about Big Beast Ganon, son. Link utterly destroys him and finishes his quest to seal the darkness.
Samus!
Samus's classic route has her fighting fighters that have a relation to classic Metroid bosses and enemies. This includes Wolf referencing the Space Pirates, King K. Rool who references Kraid, Ridley, who I think references Ridley, maybe? The fight against Bowser, Mewtwo, and Charizard I think relates to Omega Metroid, Mother Brain, and Crocomire respectively. And then there's a fight with a bunch of Robs that I have no idea what that could be referencing. Maybe just Samus fighting some robots, I don't know. And you can't have a Classic Mode route for Samus without her facing Dark Samus. All of these fights are done on Metroid stages, like Frigate Orpheon and Brinstar Depths, with the exception of the final boss, which is just Master Hand. Honestly, even with Ridley in the game, they should have had a Ridley boss fight still, or at least a Metroid boss in the game. But no, we're just stuck with Master Hand for Samus' final bounty.
Yoshi!
Who better to fight the cute and cuddly Yoshi than a bunch of scaly, scary, horrifying creatures from the Jurassic period? Yoshi's classic route has him eradicating his fellow dinosaurs, watching as they go extinct due to meteor smashes and a giant stampede of Yoshis, Mufasa style. Basically, you face all the dinosaur-like enemies Smash has to offer. Characters like Ivysaur, Ridley, Charizard. Characters like Ivysaur, Ridley, Charizard, K. Rool, etc. You fight the Koopalings during this route, and yet again Sakurai is very attentive to details. The order of the Koopalings icons this time is the order that they appear in Super Mario World, which is the very first appearance of Yoshi. The final boss of this route is Rathalos, which I just find hilarious. A giant fire-breathing dragon getting utterly destroyed by a dinosaur that puts people in eggs with the help of an item from Animal Crossing. A perfect ending to this terrifying dragon.
Kirby!
In classic Kirby fashion, his classic route has him dealing with fighters who love shoving food in their mouth. Fighters such as Yoshi, Donkey Kong, and the original video game eater himself, Pac-Man, appear to fight Kirby. And what's an eating battle without the illustrious King Dedede joining in? Each battle in this route has both fighters at 35% as well as a bunch of food everywhere at the start of the battle. Not only is food more likely to appear, but items such as the spicy curry and mushrooms are also more likely to appear. This is basically the most Kirby you can get for a classic mode route. His final boss is Marx, the main antagonist from Kirby Superstar, but he's actually quite terrifying. Just look at this cutscene. Like, calm down, guy.
Fox.
All of the characters that Fox fights have to do with space, since he comes from a crew of space dogfighters. Characters such as Samus, Rosalina and Luma, and Olimar make appearances here to take on the melee master Fox. This leads him up to fighting his arch-rival Wolf on Venom, just like in Star Fox 64, Star Fox 64 3D, and Star Fox Zero. His final boss is Master Hand, which in this case could be a reference to Andross considering he has disembodied hand and appears after the Star Fox crew takes on the Star Wolf crew on Venom. Regardless, this final boss is appropriate for Fox considering there's not much else he can take on in terms of bosses that would make sense.
Pikachu.
Pikachu's route is pretty obvious if you think about it. All the fighters are Pokemon. You got Greninja and Incineroar, a horde of pink puffballs, and even the Pokemon Man himself. You fight them all. There's even a fight against the Pichu brothers. All these fights appropriately take place on Pokemon stages, the best one being Pokemon Stadium 1. Thank God it's back! The gimmick with these battles are that only Pokeballs appear as items. Thank God Slurpuff is here to save me. The last battle is against Mewtwo, the big bad psychic clone of the pink cat thing. Immediately after that fight is a fight with Master Hand, and honestly it makes no sense going from Mewtwo straight into Master Hand. They should have brought back Rayquaza.
Luigi.
Sakurai is a masochist, so obviously he sets up poor Luigi to face all the scary characters in this game. He fights only the most terrifying fighters like Ridley, Bayonetta, and a bunch of regular people in costumes, one of which is a cuddly looking bear, Wireframe Mac, and Game & Watch. Wow, Luigi's nightmares are pretty tame. This all ends in a fight with Dracula, which Luigi braves like a champ. Though let's be real, a plumber with a ghost vacuum probably won't kill a practically immortal vampire. Hate to break it to you, my green-clad comrade.
Ness.
Starting from Magicant, this classic mode route takes Ness on his journey home to the Onett stage. Onett being the first town of Earthbound and Ness's hometown. Poor Ness just fought Gygus, the literal embodiment of evil. He's homesick and he just wants to go home. In fact, in order to beat Earthbound, you have to make the walk back to Onett after beating the final boss. His first fight is against Dark Outfit Ness, which is possibly a reference to Ness's nightmare which he fights in Magicant. The next fight he has is against Lucas on the New Pork City stage. This doesn't appear to reference anything, instead just opting for Ness to fight the other Mother rep. The fight against the three Robs is most likely a reference to the whirling and spinning robo enemies that appear in Earthbound, considering Rob has both of those things in his moveset. Either that, or it's a reference to robot enemies in general that often appear in the game. This fight takes place on Fourside, which is a town in Earthbound and makes for a very good stage in my opinion, even with those stupid UFOs. After fighting the Rob trio, Ness is tasked with taking on Sheik in the Gerudo Valley stage. This reflects the Dusty Dunes desert area featured in Earthbound, an area that's right outside of Fourside. It's possible Sheik was chosen because in the desert you get taught PK teleport by a bunch of monkeys. Sheik teleports in Smash with her up B as well as teaches Link a bunch of teleportation spells in Ocarina of Time. The next fight has Ness going against a couple of Dark Toon Links. This fight takes place on the Luigi's Mansion stage, which represents the town of Threed. Threed in Earthbound is inhabited by a bunch of zombies and ghosts, and everyone in the town is afraid to leave their houses. Basically, the Dark Toon Links are the zombies Ness fights in the town. Finally, there's the fight between Villager and Isabelle on the Onett stage, serving as the final battle before the boss. Villager was likely chosen to represent the kids that live in the town, while Isabelle was probably chosen to represent the first enemy you fight in Earthbound, the runaway dog. Interestingly, they didn't include an allusion to Tucson, the second town in the game, instead opting to use a fight between Lucas on the New Pork City stage. The final boss Ness fights is the Master Hand, of course. Why they didn't bring back the Porky boss is beyond me, as seeing Ness fighting him would be a more fitting battle in my opinion. As a side note here, I really like the attention to detail the Earthbound series is getting in Smash. So far, this is the most in-depth classic mode route, and that along with things like adding Pooh and Paula to Ness's final Smash, and the many Earthbound spirits gives me hope for more representation for the franchise as a whole. It might even lead to an actual Mother 3 release in the West. Hopefully.
Captain Falcon.
In Captain Falcon's classic route, just like the name implies, he faces opponents that are well known for fighting up close and personal, just like the man himself. He takes on Donkey Kong, Little Mac, Ryu, Roy because of his sword mechanic, a bunch of Mii brawlers, and of course the Cap clone himself, Ganondorf. This all culminates into a fight with Bowser, who then turns into Giga Bowser for the final battle. This is a pretty clear-cut classic mode, since at this point Captain Falcon is more of a Smash character than a character of his own unfortunately dead franchise.
Jigglypuff.
Against all odds, Jigglypuff still manages to be in every single Smash game. It makes sense though, because she's one of the original 12 who probably got in because it was easy to code another circular character. Because of her being a Smash 64 original, this classic mode has her fighting all of the original 64 characters, cause what else are they gonna have it be? You already know who she fights, considering this whole video is about the 64 fighters, but let's run through them anyways. The fights in order are Link, Mario, Samus and Yoshi, Kirby and Fox, Pikachu, ending with the unlockable characters Luigi, Ness, Captain Falcon and Jigglypuff. To stick with attention to detail, these fights all take place on stages that appeared in the original Super Smash Bros. On N64. My only complaint being Sector Z didn't come back. Why? Interestingly, the final boss in Jigglypuff's route isn't actually a boss, but rather a giant Donkey Kong. This is a nod to the original Smash Classic mode, then called One Player Game, where you fight a giant DK on stage 6 for every fighter, since the game had the same route for every fighter. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at all of the Smash 64 characters' classic mode routes. It's really interesting to see the levels of details the developers put into each of these routes, some being a lot more in-depth than others. Stay tuned for the Melee Fighters episode, which should be coming out soon. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.